So in today's video, we're going to answer the question of should you move to Suffolk instead of moving to a place like Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Chesapeake, or anywhere else in the south side of Hampton Roads. And we're starting right now. Hey, my name is Sam Santalone. I'm a real estate agent in the Hampton Roads area, and that goes from Virginia Beach and through Williamsburg, and I do videos every week about living and moving to the area. So I get a lot of people asking me questions about what Suffolk is like, and should I move to Suffolk or Virginia Beach, Norfolk, and Chesapeake? But a lot of times they'll talk about the options in Suffolk, and they'll say, well, I can get a cheaper house in Suffolk, a better house in Suffolk for the same price. Why don't I move there instead, Sam? Well, the answer is it might be a good idea. However, it's not also for everybody, and we'll talk about the reasons why it may or may not be a good idea for you. Well, one of the things about Suffolk is that it's an extremely large land size. If you look on the map, you'll see how large it really is. You see, it's a massive like half triangle, but it gets closer to the sides of Chesapeake, the western side of Chesapeake and Portsmouth. You see that red line there. Then it goes over towards the straight country and towards the border of Virginia and North Carolina. So it takes up a lot of land size. And you see on this green area, there's a lot of tree coverage. There's a lot of country areas and farmland as well. So you have a mixture of some spots like close to downtown Suffolk that has a lot of houses, and it's an actual downtown. You can see here, it's like right in the middle of it. It doesn't feel at all like the country. But if you zoom out, you'll see that it is the exact opposite of that, with lots of houses built all through the city, but with a lot more land to them in some places, and some like random subdivisions built in the midst of other like larger like sections of trees and farm and more subdivisions and more trees. It's just a mixture of that over and over again. And the further you go away from Chesapeake, Norfolk, and Virginia Beach, less concentration of people that there are. So the further you go west, the more sparse it is. So the question goes back to, when is it a good idea to buy a house in Suffolk as opposed to another part of town? So the first thing I want to do is talk about the differences between the options you can find in Suffolk compared to the options you can find in a place like Virginia Beach or Chesapeake. So let's compare apples to apples. And the way I do that is I look at the houses that are on the market or that have sold in Suffolk, in different parts of Suffolk, and compare them to what that type of house might cost in Virginia Beach or Norfolk or Chesapeake. And so in order to do that this time, we're going to compare Virginia Beach and Suffolk. So what we'll do is I'm going to show you some stats to show you what a typical house in Suffolk costs. And if you look on the stats, you'll see that the median sales price in all of Suffolk, a detached single family house, right now in January 2024, actually it would be February, but these stats are for January, is $399,000. This is the entire area of Suffolk. Now, where is that? Again, that's all of Suffolk. That's the entire city. But different parts of Suffolk can cost different amounts of money, and that's dependent on several things. Now, there are three general areas of Suffolk. I mean, there are lots of other minor areas, but from the standpoint of real estate, there are three general regions. And if you look on the map, I'm going to show you what those regions look like. Northeast, for one. Then there's Central, which is over towards the downtown area over here. Then there's the southwestern side, or like the western side of Suffolk, which has a lot more sparse options, but a lot more, wide open space. Going back to what the stats say median sales price is, if you look at the all of Suffolk, the median sales price is $399. But now if you look at the differences, if you take out the west and northeastern sections of Suffolk, you'll find that instead of it being median sales price of $399, that median sales price goes down to $317. Western Suffolk, the median sales price is $448, $747. Remember, the central section was $317. But if you go into the northeastern side of Suffolk, it's a totally different story altogether. Instead of it being in the low 400s or in the 300s, in the northeastern side of Suffolk, the median sales price is $446, $250. Now, the reason why houses in the northeastern section of Suffolk are often more expensive is partly because there's a lot more new construction on the northeastern side, which also leads to higher prices, larger houses and all that. So that's part of the reason. In addition, the northeastern section has an area called Harbor Overview, and that area has a lot of new or newer construction and larger houses and very nice established neighborhoods that are either on a golf course or an HOA community. These types of areas are extremely nice, but also very in demand, and also on the more expensive side compared to the rest of Suffolk, which adds to the median sales price in northeastern Suffolk to be much higher than the rest of Suffolk. But if you look at Virginia Beach, the median sales price is $409. Now, however, that can change based on where it is. So, for example, on the southeastern side of Virginia Beach, that goes to $620. But if you go to Great Neck, for example, in the northeastern part of Virginia Beach, that median sales price is $712. If you go to a place like Little Neck, for example, the median sales price is $545. Now, looking at those options, that's drastically higher than what you might find in a place like Suffolk across the whole city, which has a median sales price of $399. Now, going into Norfolk and Chesapeake, you'll find that there are plenty of places in Norfolk that are cheaper than Suffolk. Same goes to parts of Chesapeake and even parts of Portsmouth and other parts of the South Side. The drawback with these cheaper options is that you're not going to be able to find the same amount of options with as much land as you can find in Suffolk. Now, you can get larger lots in all these places, but they're either hard to find, like Norfolk, Portsmouth, but also Virginia Beach and Chesapeake have those options, but they will be more expensive. What you might be able to find in Suffolk for $450,000, $500,000, you might be paying $600,000 or $700,000 in parts of Virginia Beach or Chesapeake. One of the big reasons why people prefer Suffolk or are intrigued by Suffolk is that there is a perception that Suffolk has more options with larger lot sizes. And this is true. If you want more land, and that could be anywhere from like a half an acre to an acre or more, you'll have a lot higher chance of getting what you want for a cheaper price in Suffolk with more land. Now, part of the reason why the areas in the central Suffolk are cheaper is because that land option really isn't as much there. It's a smaller, the lot sizes are a lot smaller. It's very similar to other parts of other cities in Hampton Roads. But if you go into some parts of the northeastern side, but a lot of it in the western section of Suffolk, you'll find a lot more options that have half an acre or more lot size. And so for the price, so for like a $400,000, $500,000 house, you can get a higher chance of getting more land for the same price. Now, school districts like those three in Suffolk, comparing it to Virginia Beach, you'll find that a lot of the Virginia Beach school districts are in super high demand. That can affect the prices and the demand of houses in Virginia Beach as well. Even in Chesapeake, for example, there are 3 high school districts. There's Nansemond River, northeastern section, generally speaking. There's Kings Fork, which is like the northern central section of Suffolk. And then as you go further west, it's Lakeland. Now, each school district has a little bit of a different demand to it, and you can do some research to find out for yourself which school district you might like the best. So I want to tell you something about the options you'll find land size wise in Suffolk compared to a place like Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Portsmouth, or Chesapeake. If you're going to between the $300,000 and $600,000 price range, houses that have sold in the last 60 days or on the market right now, there are a total of 82 in that criteria in all of Suffolk that have sold or are on the market right now that are at least a half an acre or more between $300,000 and $600,000. Now, translating that over to Virginia Beach, that same price range, all the same criteria, that same size acreage, there are 11. A total of 11 in that whole price range. Going to Chesapeake, all of Chesapeake, that same criteria, there are 42. Now, going from Portsmouth and Norfolk, Portsmouth only had 4, Norfolk only has 7. So what does that mean? It means that, as you might think, the further away from the center of the area you go, the more options you'll have for larger lot sizes. The drawback is going to be that likely the most options are going to also be furthest away from the places you might want to be. For the same price, you have a lot higher chance of getting more land in Suffolk as you would in Virginia Beach or even Norfolk or Chesapeake. Now, in addition to that, you'll find that there are more options for newer houses, newer house styles in Suffolk. Generally speaking, for houses that are on the market right now in Suffolk, the median kind of age range of houses built in Suffolk are right around the year 2002-ish range. For houses like in the $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 price range. Now, if you go higher, you'll find that those generally tend to go newer. But if you go into Virginia Beach in the same price range, $300,000 to $600,000, you'll find that median age range is more like in the mid 80s, late 80s. So it trends older in Virginia Beach as well. So you'll find that there are more contemporary house options in Suffolk for the same price as what you might find in Virginia Beach or Norfolk or Chesapeake. So this is another reason why people are more intrigued by Suffolk if they want a more contemporary style house. Interior or even the neighborhood itself might feel more of a newer feel. So getting close proximity to where you want to be, as well as larger lot size, comes at a premium because those are both two things that people really often want. So if you're willing to give up one, you can often get the other. In this case, going to Suffolk, the further away you go from Chesapeake or Virginia Beach gives you more options to get a cheaper alternative but also get the thing you want, which is the lot size. So I would definitely suggest, if you want lot size, definitely consider Suffolk as a primary option if you want something half an acre or more, just because there are just a lot more options in that lot size range. However, keep in mind that as the houses trend newer, you'll find that there are fewer options that have larger lot sizes. So you have a kind of a dichotomy in Suffolk as to what options are the most frequent. You either have newer houses, things you can't often find for the same price in Virginia Beach or Chesapeake, that feel newer, that are newer neighborhoods for a cheaper price, maybe $100,000 less in some cases. But on the flip side, those specific neighborhoods might not have the larger lot size that you might also be looking for. That style lot size might lead to a house that was built 30, 40, 50, 60 years prior. So you have two different styles of houses, two different things that are harder to find in other parts of the South Side: newer house for cheaper, or larger lot size for cheaper, or just in general. But knowing that those two things don't always still meet together, even though they're in Suffolk. So it depends on really what your budget is. But know that with those two things, newer house, contemporary house, and the larger lot size, you're giving up a couple of very significant things. Number one is going to be school district demand. The demand for the Virginia Beach school districts can often be very high in places like in Chesapeake, for example. So sometimes the school district plays a part in the pricing of houses. That's number one. Number two is going to be a huge one, which is the drive to work or drive to wherever you want to go. And I'm going to show you on the map what I'm talking about. I'm going to show you specific drive times from a place like in Suffolk over to a place in Virginia Beach. So if you look on the map, I'm going to show you. So let's just say, for example, you want to buy a house in the middle of Suffolk, and I'm going to just drop a pin. This is very random. I'm going to say over near, let's just say Webb Street. Here we go. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put the address from there into, let's just say, Town Center, Virginia Beach. Now, that's a pretty central part of Virginia Beach. When you're doing Google Times, make sure you know when you're leaving. So let's just pretend we're leaving at, let's just say, rush hour on a Tuesday the 20th. Let's just say Tuesday, February 20th. Well, that leads to 35 to 50 minutes coming from this part of Suffolk all the way into downtown Norfolk, through there into town center. Now, that can change quite a bit. Let's just say you're going to go into the middle of Salem. That goes to 35 to 55 minutes. So keep in mind, the further you go from an interstate, the longer it's going to take. Over towards Oceana, you're talking closer to an hour, 50 minutes on average a lot of times. Now, also, if you go further into the rest of Suffolk, that goes from 35, 45, 50 minutes to places like times like, goodness, you're talking in 50 minutes to look at that, an hour and 10 sometimes, even an hour and 30 in some cases, depending on which direction you go. So this is very important, because if you're going down during rush hour, this can change your reality of how you live every day a lot, and it might make that cheaper house feel a lot less exciting. It might make you want to stay in your house and not want to go out and do other things because you're so far away from other things. So that's one of the other drawbacks to living in Suffolk, is that you are far from a lot of other things the further west you go on the map. Now, there are some places that are central, that like grocery stores, for example, like in the middle of Suffolk. There are some shopping centers that are around Suffolk, the central part, that are pretty easy to get to, but there's not a ton of them compared to like Virginia Beach and Chesapeake. Now, going to the northeastern side, there are also some spots, and especially Chesapeake Square Mall, which is in Chesapeake. Being close to that area, being close to the northeast side near Harborview, you have more nice options. Like, for example, there's a nice Kroger up in the northeastern side of Suffolk, for example. There are more, like Harris Teeter, there are more newer-ish style of strip malls and shopping and grocery stores and things in the northeastern side and the western branch side of Chesapeake. So the further you are away from there, you have just less options for even essentials. You're driving farther to your basic things. So who you make friends with can often matter. You might not want to drive an hour to all your friends and all that. So that can all add up to a totally different lifestyle. Now, another thing to note on the map that will affect how important driving from your house to your job is going to be how important driving through a toll or avoiding a toll is going to be for you. So, for example, there are two different primary tolls. There are more than that, but there are two primary tolls in tunnel tolls going through to Norfolk through to Virginia Beach from the Suffolk Chesapeake Western Branch. There's the Midtown Tunnel and the Downtown Tunnel. These two tunnels right here. And this is not a toll. This is a bridge. That's not a toll. These two are the ones that get you from the Western Branch, Portsmouth, Suffolk side of town over into the downtown Norfolk or into going over towards Virginia Beach the quickest. Now, if you use these tolls on average, if you're doing during rush hour, just over $3 per way, which if you're doing rush hour two ways, $6 a day, 5 days a week, $30 a week. And if you're doing that per month, that's about $150 a month just in tolls to save maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes each way, which can help. But it really depends on how much you want to save to save that time. So factor that in as well to the cost of your house. Because if you're doing $150 a month, for every $10,000 of mortgage, it's about $80 a month right now based on interest rates, and there's a lot of things there. But my point is that it's going to be almost $20,000 of mortgage just in tolls if you're using those tolls every day to get back and forth to work. So that can make a house that's $450 feel like $470 if you're doing the equivalent over on the other side of the Virginia Beach and Chesapeake side of town. Not to mention the gas factoring in. You might be using twice as much gas, for example. So all that adds up. You're saving money. But keep in mind, make sure you know what you're paying in exchange for the amount of money that you're saving for the house, because it's not always just the house savings that is the biggest deal. Like you've heard me talk in Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, and Norfolk, there are different vibes in different cities. If you want a character style neighborhood, you're going to have more options in Norfolk than you will in Chesapeake or Virginia Beach or Suffolk, for example. Virginia Beach got a lot of a mishmash. Chesapeake has newer houses, but they're more expensive than what you might find in Suffolk. Portsmouth has kind of like a Norfolk feel, but it's a lot cheaper, but it also has higher taxes, and there's just a lot less going on there. Now, Suffolk has those big things, newer house options. It has larger house options for the same price. It has the larger lot sizes, a lot more options of those types of lots. But again, in exchange, the biggest thing is going to be which school district do you want, and also how far are you willing to drive to the thing that you need to go to on a regular or daily or whatever basis. That's going to change your reality a lot as far as how enjoyable it will be to live in the house that you pick if you choose to live in Suffolk. So to me, I'm not as big of a fan of driving in the car. I prefer living in a place like Virginia Beach, Norfolk, or Chesapeake because it's closest to more things, closest to more shopping, closest to more friends and people, closer to everything. But I can understand if you don't want that and you want the land, it is hard to find it. And I think if you do need to find that or a newer house, you have more options in Suffolk. I would suggest Suffolk. Keep in mind for that reason. So if you have any more questions about relocating to Virginia Beach through Suffolk through Williamsburg, let me know. That's what I do. I love helping people relocate to this area. So you can drop a comment below. You can call me. You can email me. You can text me. My contact information in the description. And you can reach out at any point, and I'll do whatever I can to help you relocate to the area. And I will see you on the next video.